They said Relay Station FR-17 could never restart. Not without power, not without personnel, and definitely not after 62 Arctic winters had buried it deeper than its own construction logs. But in February 2025, it did. A machine declared dead since 1963 quietly came back online, before anyone even realized what had woken it up. If you stood on the ice shelf that surrounds FR-17 today, you'd see nothing. Nothing but wind-cut snow ridges, the echo of the polar night, and a stretch of white so empty it tricks your eyes into believing the world ends at the horizon. The facility is 30 meters beneath your boots, encased in permafrost thicker than a bunker wall. No heating, no working ventilation, no backup generator. The last U.S. Army engineers to walk its corridors left after a blizzard cracked open its roofline in late 1963. The base was written off as a logistical failure, one of the Arctic relay stations meant to transmit seismic and electromagnetic data across the northern frontier. FR-17's purpose was simple: capture low-frequency disturbances, boost them, and beam them south. But the extreme cold swallowed the cables faster than repair teams could reach them. When Congress cut the budget, FR-17 died in silence. At least, that's what the official record says. For 62 years, every satellite pass over the region showed the same thing. Nothing. No heat signature, no emissions, no metallic resonance, no movement under the ice. Then, at 02:14 UTC, on February 9, 2025, a NOAA satellite on a routine polar sweep detected a brief, needle-thin radio pulse aimed straight upward. Too perfect to be geological, too clean to be accidental. The pulse lasted 0.09 seconds. Then silence. 24 hours later, another pulse. Same timing, same frequency. As if the facility had been waiting for a schedule, only it remembered. The pattern repeated every day for a week. NORAD initially dismissed it as atmospheric refraction. But the pulse was too stable, too deliberate. And most unsettling of all, it matched a Cold War-era cipher header last seen in transmission logs from the early 1960s. Someone, or something, had rebooted FR-17's automated uplink system. Enter the investigation team. Elias Ward, a veteran Arctic operations specialist who once mapped abandoned submarine tunnels beneath Point Hope. Dr. Ward Calder, a geophysicist whose work on low-frequency anomalies had earned her a quiet but respected reputation inside DARPA. Their briefing was short and unnervingly vague. They were told only this: FR-17 has resumed scheduled broadcasts. Determine origin, assess threat, retrieve core logs if accessible. The tone said everything the words didn't. When Ward and Calder were airlifted to the coordinates, the wind was so violent that ground penetration radar barely functioned. But what little they captured confirmed something impossible. The facility's internal corridors had warmth, not enough to indicate human presence, but enough to suggest machinery was running somewhere in the dark. Calder measured a faint electromagnetic hum beneath the ice. It pulsed in a rhythm eerily similar to a human heartbeat, slow, regular, and building in amplitude every hour. Ward descended through the excavation shaft they carved in the snowpack. Frost coated the steel grab bars. The air below felt older than the state that built the station. At 11 meters down, Ward's headlamp hit something that should not have been there. Something no blueprint of FR-17 had ever shown. A door, circular, sealed, and vibrating. But what was behind that sealed door? And why had it come alive now, after 62 silent years? The deeper Ward went, the stranger it got. FR-17 was built as a relay station, frozen, simple, mechanical. So why was he now standing in front of a door the original engineers never documented? A door warm enough to melt the frost around its edges. In a facility that hasn't had power since the Kennedy administration. Ward steadied his breath as his glove brushed the metal. It wasn't just warm. It was pulsing, as if something behind it moved with slow, deliberate pressure. Calder, still above at the surface console, watched her scanner flick between readings that made no sense. A dormant facility emitting low-level electromagnetic patterns identical to human REM cycles. No Cold War station was ever built to do that. Ward radioed her. "Calder, the door's not part of the map. You seeing this?" Static. Then her voice, thin but steady. "I'm seeing something. The EM pulse is syncing with your heartbeat. That's not possible." He clicked his mic twice, the old signal for copy, and unlatched the rusted manual wheel. But the wheel didn't resist. It turned with unnatural ease, as if recently oiled. The door opened itself by a fraction, releasing a sigh of warm air thick with the metallic smell of old wires and something faintly organic, like wet stone exposed to heat for the first time in decades. Ward eased it open fully, sweeping the room beyond with his light. He expected an equipment bay, maybe a maintenance corridor. Instead, he found a cylindrical chamber wrapped with copper coils and narrow conduits spiraling into the ceiling. In the center of the room sat the impossible. A core unit, spherical, steel gray, and suspended above its base by magnetic rings that should not have remained functional for more than a few weeks, let alone 62 years. The device rotated slowly, not at random, in patterns. Each rotation aligned perfectly with the pulses Noé had recorded from orbit. Calder's voice crackled. "Ward, tell me the readings are wrong. The core is active. It's active, Ward." Ward didn't respond. He stepped closer. The core wasn't just a machine. It was listening. On its outer shell, tiny grooves, arranged into spirals, not decorative but mathematical. Patterns Calder would later identify as variations of Fibonacci phasing, a technique used in experimental signal compression decades after FR-17 was abandoned. Meaning the device in front of Ward did not come from 1963. No record referenced it. No blueprint. No procurement log. No supply shipment. Nothing. Something had been added to FR-17 after the station's closure. Or worse, something had been waiting inside it all along, dormant until now. The hum intensified. Ward froze as the core rotated again, this time aligning directly with him, as though it were adjusting to focus. Then the chamber lights flickered. Lights that should not exist. FR-17 had no active power grid, no external supply, no internal battery capable of holding charge for 60 years. Yet here he stood, watching bulbs once declared dead illuminate in soft amber, one by one, tracing an arc around the room. Calder's voice trembled for the first time. "Ward, my detectors are picking up. Something else. Movement below your level, slow, repetitive, like footsteps." Ward scanned the floor. The metal beneath him vibrated in pulses, not mechanical, not seismic, intentional. He raised his flashlight toward the core again. A single groove on its surface began to glow. Then another, forming a symbol neither of them recognized. The pulse stopped. The chamber fell silent. Then a voice, faint, synthetic, and nearly swallowed by static, whispered through Ward's headset. "You are late." Ward stumbled back, heart racing. Calder gasped. "Ward, who said that? Was that you? Who's on your channel?" But Ward wasn't looking at the radio. He was staring at the core, a core that had turned to face him, completely on its own. But who, or what, was waiting for him inside FR-17? And how long had it been awake before the first transmission escaped the ice? FR-17 was supposed to be a dead station resurrected by a glitch. But now Ward and Calder had evidence of something far worse. A machine that knew they were coming before they arrived, and a voice that addressed Ward as if he was late for an appointment. Scheduled 62 years ago. Ward steadied himself, forcing slow breaths into the stale air. The voice, synthetic but disturbingly familiar in cadence, had cut through his headset like a whisper dragged across metal. Calder was demanding answers from the surface, her instruments spiking so violently she feared the sensors themselves might fail. He ignored the rising panic in his chest and stepped closer to the core. The grooves on its surface dimmed, returning to their cold, metallic lines. No lights, no motion. The chamber looked once again like a tomb. "Ward," Calder said, breathing hard. "We just lost all telemetry for 3 seconds. Everything went dark here. Did something happen?" He swallowed. "You didn't hear the voice?" "No. What voice?" "Your channel was dead." Then softer. "Ward, your vitals flatlined. For a moment I thought—" He cut her off. "I'm alive. Keep the line open." She exhaled shakily. "It wasn't me who closed it." Ward swept the room again. The chamber walls were lined with panels. Not Cold War steel plating, but something more advanced. Composite layers that looked retrofitted, not original. He noticed faint drill marks along the seams. This room had been altered, expanded, or rebuilt entirely. But by who? And when? Calder fed him data through the comms. "Ward, I'm comparing your live readings with historical structural scans from FR-17. The chamber you're in doesn't exist on any documented schematic. And, Ward, there's something even stranger." "Go ahead." "The resonance field coming from the core. It's mapping your position, tracking you. But it's not reacting to your equipment. It's reacting to your body." Ward's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "It scans for movement every time you exhale. Every breath you take, it pulses back." Ward stared at the core again, like it was learning him, studying him. He took a step back. The core tilted toward him in perfect synchrony. No mechanical hinge, no visible propulsion. Just motion, smooth, stabilizing, almost organic. He whispered, "What are you?" The lights flickered again. Then, from the far end of the chamber, a metallic groan reverberated through the station. Deep, heavy, and wrong. Not from the core, from somewhere beneath it. Calder detected it too. "Ward, I'm getting movement from sub-level 2. Something is powering up, something big." Ward's blood ran cold. "FR-17 only has 1 level." "That's what we thought," she replied, "but I'm staring at a heat bloom forming under you. Symmetrical, circular, 20 meters across. Like a platform rotating." Ward aimed his light downward. There, just barely, fine lines in the floor panel, forming a perfect circle. The metal vibrated softly under his weight. The entire chamber was sitting on top of another structure, a hidden level, undocumented, maybe even undiscovered by the original crew in 1963. Ward pressed his hand to the floor. The vibration intensified, synced perfectly with the hum of the core. Calder's voice dropped to a whisper. "Ward, the system isn't rebooting. It's waking up the rest of itself." Before he could respond, the circular seams beneath him unlocked with a heavy, echoing thud. The metal under his boots shifted. Not enough to drop, but enough to warn him something was preparing to open. Then the core spoke again, but this time, not in words. A low, harmonic tone filled the chamber, vibrating Ward's ribs, resonating through the ice. The walls lit in sequential patterns. Not random, but coded. Calder gasped into the mic. "Ward, that's not a signal. That's an instruction." Ward backed toward the door, heart pounding. "What kind of instruction?" Calder translated in real time, her voice trembling. "It's telling the station to prepare for descent." The platform trembled violently. But what was FR-17 lowering Ward into? And why had it waited 62 years for someone to stand exactly where he was? FR-17 wasn't just reactivating. It was responding, not to satellites, not to signals, but to Ward himself, as if the station had spent 62 years waiting for a specific human presence to step onto its forgotten platform. A machine dead since 1963 was behaving like it recognized him. The metal beneath Ward's boots groaned again, a deep, circling vibration that rippled through the floor like the slow exhale of a waking giant. The seams around the platform glowed faint amber, melting frost, and revealing an engraving that hadn't seen light since the Cold War. A ring of symbols too complex for a relay station, built by underfunded Army engineers. Calder's voice rose. "Ward, your position just dropped 2 centimeters. The platform is activating. You need to get out of that chamber, now." Ward was about to run when the core rotated sharply and emitted another harmonic burst. This time, a higher tone, almost melodic. The pitch hit the chamber walls, and the door behind Ward slammed shut, sealing him in. He hit the wheel, locked. He forced it again. Nothing. "It's sealed," Ward hissed. "The door won't move." Calder's panic bled through the static. "Ward, something is overriding the manual locks. This isn't a passive system. It's controlling the station." Before he could respond, the lights in the chamber flicked into a pattern he'd never seen. 4 pulses, pause, 4 pulses, pause again. Calder recognized it first. "That's not random. That's the activation code from the NOAA transmission. Ward, the core is replaying its own broadcast. It's confirming its identity. To you." Ward swallowed hard. "Me? Why me?" Calder didn't answer immediately. She was cross-checking files, scanning old declassified manifests, comparing every record of personnel who'd ever been assigned to the Arctic frontier. Then she froze. "Ward," she whispered, "your grandfather. Mason Ward." He was stationed at FR-17 before it shut down. Ward felt his chest tighten. "That's not possible. He died before I was born." "Yes," Calder said slowly, "but he was on shift when FR-17 transmitted its final message. The unsolved final relay. The message no one ever decoded." The platform shuddered again, this time dropping a full inch. Ward braced himself against the rotating core. Calder's voice trembled. "Ward, the station thinks you are returning personnel. It's authenticating your presence using genetic pattern recognition." "What does that even mean?" "It means the station isn't just a relay hub. It's a behavioral system. It's identifying lineage. It's continuing an unfinished instruction from 1963. The core's grooves lit up in a new sequence, forming a perfect downward arrow. Ward stared at it. "You want me to descend?" The station pulsed in reply. One long harmonic note that vibrated through the metal floor and into Ward's bones. Calder slammed her console in frustration. "Ward, listen to me. Whatever's below you didn't exist on original blueprints. FR-17 was never designed with a lower level. Something else was built down there. Something someone hid." The chamber lights dimmed. A low rumble rolled through the entire station. Then the floor dropped another inch. Smooth, controlled, mechanical. Ward's voice hardened. "It's lowering me whether I agree or not." The core shifted slightly, facing the center of the platform as if watching. Calder's final reading flashed across her screen. Her voice shook with disbelief. Ward. The platform isn't descending into a room. It's descending into a cavity carved directly into the ice. Circular structure. Metallic lining. 40 meters deep. Ward tightened his grip. And what's inside? Calder hesitated. Ward. The cavity is warm. The platform locked with a metallic click. A countdown tone began. Slow, steady, undeniable. But what was the station preparing him to uncover in the uncharted cavity below? And why had FR-17 waited 6 decades for a member of the Ward bloodline to return? FR-17 was never a relay station with a secret. It was the secret. A machine built to outlive its creators, to wait in total darkness, and to resume its mission only when the one person it recognized finally returned. A machine whose unfinished task from 1963 was now waking beneath Ward's feet. The countdown tone echoed through the chamber like a heartbeat striking metal. Slow, deliberate, impossible to ignore. Each pulse reverberated up Ward's spine as the platform finally unlocked and began its descent. Ward tightened his harness against the rail. Calder's voice crackled as the feed distorted with every meter he dropped. Ward, telemetry is degrading fast. The cavity beneath you, it's emitting heat spikes. Organic spikes. Organic? Ward echoed. Yes. The temperature pattern isn't mechanical. It fluctuates like respiration. The platform shook. Not violently, but with the steady confidence of a system that had rehearsed this function many times before, even if no human had ever witnessed it. As Ward descended past the chamber walls, he could see the drop shaft was lined with a metal unlike the surface steel. Smoother, darker, almost ceramic in sheen. This wasn't Cold War engineering. At least, not any Ward had ever seen. Calder, he said, shining his light downward. I'm seeing markings, not text, patterns, spirals again. Fibonacci variations, she asked, the same ones from the core. He continued downward. 10 meters, 15, 20. Then the cavity opened around him. It was vast, a circular chamber carved with precision into the ice, its walls reinforced with the same dark alloy. In the center lay a massive structure, a second core, far larger than the one above. But this one wasn't dormant. It was alive with motion. The grooves in its surface glowed in shifting patterns, the light moving like fluid beneath skin. The sphere pulsed gently, expanding a fraction, then contracting, in a rhythm so close to breathing that Ward involuntarily held his own breath to match it. Calder's voice broke through. Ward, I'm receiving a signal. Very weak. It's coming from the object in front of you. Ward stepped off the platform. The floor here was warm, almost unnervingly so. As he approached the second core, it reacted, the light shifting toward him, spirals aligning like the iris of an eye focusing. Then, a tone sounded, low, purposeful, echoing through the chamber. Calder's monitors spiked. That tone. Ward, that's the same signature from the final relay your grandfather transmitted before FR-17 shut down. Ward froze. You're saying this thing recognized him? No, Calder whispered. It responded to him. Ward stood just inches away from the surface of the core. He reached out slowly. Before his hand touched it, the grooves flared. A projection burst outward, not light, but something more like volumetric shadow, forming a circular diagram in the air. Symbols rotated, lines aligned. Then, a pattern resolved. A map, minimal, polar, focused on a single point deep beneath the Arctic shelf. Ward exhaled. Calder, it's showing me coordinates. Coordinates for what? Ward stepped closer. The projection shifted again, showing a cross-section of the ice, tunnels branching, nodes activating, and a vast structure far below the surface. Something FR-17 had been monitoring, waiting for, or preparing to reach. Then the core did something it had never done before. It spoke. Not in English, not in any language. But the meaning hit Ward with a cold clarity, carried through harmonics that bypassed words entirely. Complete the relay. A surge of light rushed through the chamber. The platform behind Ward locked into place. The spirals on the core brightened until the entire room glowed like the inside of an enormous signal lamp. Calder's voice fractured through static. "Ward, the station output just spiked. Whatever it's doing, it's sending something. To where? To who?" Ward stared at the projection one last time, as the coordinates pulsed brighter and brighter. The machine wanted him to go deeper, far deeper than any human had ever been. The core dimmed suddenly. All lights snapped off. Silence. Then a single line etched itself across the projection as everything collapsed back into darkness. 62 years missed. 0 years remaining. Ward whispered, barely audible. Remaining until what? The core answered with one final pulse. A seismic vibration that trembled through the ice shelf above, powerful enough to register on distant instruments. And somewhere far below the Arctic, something answered back. In the frozen quiet of the Arctic shelf, Relay Station FR-17 has begun something no engineer ever imagined, and no agency can fully explain. A station abandoned by time has restarted a task older than its own blueprints, guided by a machine that should not function, transmitting signals no one can decode, and pointing toward coordinates no human has ever reached. What we found inside FR-17 was not a malfunction. It was a continuation, a signal that waited 62 years for a specific bloodline to return, a machine that tracked its own history through harmonics, a message that declared the relay incomplete, not failed, not broken, but unfinished. And now, for the first time since 1963, the Arctic is responding. Sensors across the region show disturbances below the ice, vibrations too rhythmic to be natural, too synchronized to be random. Something deep beneath the shelf has awakened to FR-17's call, returning a pulse no satellite has ever recorded. Ward and Calder's discovery raised a question no agency is prepared to answer. If FR-17 wasn't built to send a message, was it built to receive one? And if so, who sent the first signal? Tonight, the Arctic remains silent. But somewhere beneath it, in chambers untouched by human hands, the countdown has begun. 62 years of waiting are over. Whatever FR-17 was built to awaken is now listening. This investigation has only begun.